Alrighty. I think yesterday was the day that I was supposed to do YouTube videos, but I'm trying to keep my zen and make sure that I get to bed on time because I am working on the Gail series, and the Gail commandments are pretty demanding. And I remember Jesus told me back in 2021, he said, if you had to choose between neglecting your sleep or doing all the Gail commandments, he said, I'd rather you go to bed on time. And bed on time for him meant 9 o'clock, and I am having trouble getting to bed at 9 o'clock. But but I do try to be in bed by 10:30 or 11. So I've been having mite issues. I've got like a mite infection right there, a mite over here, itchy skin. And I used to have an infection right here. I call this my masturbation thumb. This one is healed. So it looks like Lizzo has given up on attacking my masturbation thumb. Apparently, I have made a strong case that I'm asexual leaning, and she's not going to be able to get me on sexual sins. So it appears, she's attacking, like right here on the tip of this thumb. It appears she may be trying to attack my ability to type because I'm going to town on the Gail series, and those mites are making my eyes water right now. I have been working very hard on them. I'm now on my 20th story, so that means I am about 1/5 of the way through. I'm planning right now 102. I might add more. And I'm wearing the beautiful jewelry that Brent got for me. See, this is the ring that he bought for me. Jesus paid for it, but he wanted to buy it. This one he bought for me. This is a Howard Hughes bracelet, and this is a beautiful. But I consider it from Brent because he's the one that saw it in the window, and he's the one that wanted it, and Jesus just paid for it for him. This one Brent bought is really expensive. And then of course the earrings. I did give myself a haircut. I do my own hair because back in, I think it was 2015, I told Jesus, he said, you're only allowed to spend money on food and bills. I said, what about getting a haircut? He said, is that food and bills? So I finally got around to doing it. I've been so excited about getting the stories out. I haven't had time to color my hair yet. So you'll just have to, I'll be the silver fox, right? That's what Brent calls me. Though when Brent looks at me, he sees me as future Gail. So I guess it doesn't care what everybody else sees. Well, I got to admit, I am a little vain. So I thought, let me tell you what happened to me the other day. I rode the bus because I wanted to get some shiitake mushrooms, and you can't get them in the regular grocery stores around here. And I especially like the dried kind. So, I no longer I used to live in Oregon, Washington State. Over there, you can find shiitake mushrooms in the regular grocery stores, probably because they have a lot of Asians out there. But here in Alabama, the only place you can get dried shiitake mushrooms, though I was lucky because my grocery store started carrying them for a while, but they quit. Apparently not enough of the people around here like to eat them. So I took a special trip out to the Asian store to get them. But the day before I was going to do that, because I just made pork chow mein Chinese style yesterday. And to me, pork chow mein without shiitake mushrooms in it is not pork chow mein. Okay, I make it Chinese style, authentic Chinese style, not this Americanized version. Yeah. In fact, I can show you what I made. Let me go get it. Yeah. Let's see. I'll show you. Okay, let me find my pork chow mein now. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Believe it or not, where I live, even snow peas are hard to find. Even snow peas. Yeah. Ooh. There it is. This is at my cooking channel, by the way. There, yeah, I had to get the snow peas at Publix. Goodness, water is getting all over me. I had to get the snow peas at Publix, okay? And yeah, to get the ingredients for my Asian dishes, I have to go all over town. Yeah, and to Publix is not walking distance for me unless I'm willing to walk an hour one way, okay? So I take the bus to get out there, and oh my goodness, I just got chow mein water all over my leg. Yeah, right down there. So, yeah, I what happened one day, okay? I was going to take a bus out to the Asian store, and when I went to the transfer center, they told me, because you know they changed all the bus routes starting around December and January. I went to the bus transfer center, and I was going to catch, I think, a 10:30 bus. And I saw the normal bus driver for that bus, and I thought, well, I'm waiting for the 10:30 bus. He says, oh, he said, this route only goes once an hour now. I thought, what? I said, I think I'm going to change my plan. So I decided to take a different route that would take me out to, I wasn't sure where I was going to go. But I didn't want to wait a whole half an hour. I don't like being at that transfer center. I don't like smelling all the cigarette smoke and everything. So I've got to admit, it looks like it's improved a bit. So I decided to take the bus out to Publix. And I went to Publix, and at that time, they had to turn off the water in my apartment complex for 4 hours. So I decided to go do something for 4 hours and get out. And at first, I was going to go to the botanical gardens, but that bus, I would have had to wait a half an hour. So I took another bus and went to Publix. While I was there, I just spent, usually when I go to Publix, I'm rushing because I'm worried about missing the bus. I decided, take your stinking time. So I went up and down all the aisles, and I noticed they had snow peas. This is a hard to find item in my area. So it's snow peas. I says, I can make a nice Asian dish with that. So I got some snow peas, and then I walked on over to a downtown park called Big Spring, and I just meditated there. And I've been using my new camera. I've pretty much figured it out, the one my men got for me. So people that are at my Patreon, they get to see all my, But I'm not doing as many bus adventures as I used to do. And the reason for that is I don't enjoy the bus rides as much anymore. They changed the routes, and now the buses are really crowded. I do not enjoy riding on a crowded bus. So it's not relaxing to me. So what I've been doing now is doing more walk adventures. I discovered some new walking routes in my area, which is good because it made me lose about when I got that terrible cough. I still kind of have it, but I think it's mostly mites right now. When I got that terrible cough, I decided to explore new walking routes, and I discovered there is a walking route here that's about 40 to 45 minutes long, which, see, when I lived in Florida, I had a 40-minute walking route that I took every day, okay? And that helped me to keep my weight down to about 135, 130, I got to admit, I'm not as financially tight as I was in Florida, and in spite of the fact that I don't have a car, I can basically buy any kind of food that I want. I can afford anything, basically. And I love it. So I've been making a lot of my favorite foods, like from the 1990s. In the 1990s, I was an international cook. I made a lot of authentic Chinese, authentic Japanese, and authentic Italian food. Those are my three favorite cuisines. I love authentic Chinese, I love authentic Japanese, and I love authentic Italian. But sometimes I'll throw in other countries' foods too. So yeah, so I went to Big Spring Park and meditated there, watched the ducks, and then I walked over to the post office and discovered my sister had a letter waiting for me there where she's claiming like my son has not gotten the proceeds from my mother's will. She's playing this nasty game, okay? So I signed for that letter. I already knew it was coming, but my informed delivery was telling me all sorts of crazy stuff. So, saying that I thought maybe it got sent back, that my men had won their court case. I think my Terrence Jenkins has been in court with my sister. She's on Satan's side, and I believe she's a Lizzo Jesuit, and she's playing this game. See, when my mother transitioned, when she met with Buddha, and Buddha just let her go off to be with her husband, Bill Fuller. Yeah, I actually wrote the story about that too. And my sister's playing this game. See, my mother had left her will. It's where she put my sister in as the custodian of the will. And there is no way I want to take any money from a will that my sister is custodian over, because she is a Lizzo Jesuit, and her goal is to undermine she's basically a psychopath, okay? I just said, I don't want the will. I don't want the will. At first, I was just going to reject the money flat out and let her have it all. But Zach Knight said, no. He said, you ought to think about your son. Your sister doesn't deserve that money. Because basically, she was manipulating my mother. And yeah, that's all in a story that I wrote for the Gail series. And so, yeah. So we, according to my men, my son is getting the will money. So I guess my sister's playing this game like, we are still willing to give you the proceeds from the will if you will just give us your social security number. Says, no way. She's not getting my social security number. Yeah. Yeah. I am financially independent here. Jesus set me up well. So when I moved here, I'm financially independent. I don't need my mother's will money, especially if my sister is in charge of it and determines whether I am worthy to receive the proceeds. Anyways. Yeah, I had to make a YouTube video, so I'm... yeah. So, yeah, I've been working on the Gail series. And going at the rate I'm going, I'm hoping I can finish the whole thing within 2 years. And it appears that Baphomet and Shagpone and the whole crew are not too happy, because they're trying to... they kind of messed up my bus riding adventure. They apparently got a hold of some executive who works for the buses around, the city buses, and got him to change all the routes so that even the ones that, my favorite routes have all been messed up, so they're no longer fun for me to ride. But I look at the bright side. One of the buses, what they're doing right now is forcing me to discover new walking adventures. And as a result of the buses not being the way I like, so that it's not so much fun for me to ride them anymore, I'm discovering new walking routes around here. Yeah, so I'm burning off more calories. Thank you. Thank you, Lizzo Jesuits. You're helping me stay, keep my weight in the healthy range. Yeah. I'll just walk more. Oh, now they're having all sorts of construction work done on my walking route where I have to it's okay. I'm learning to chill, to see the good in everything. Yeah. So yeah, I'm making really good progress on the Gail series. I'm right now working on the story of the Quebec trial. I wrote them in order up until I got to the time right after my divorce, and then now I'm starting to write them out of order, and I would say the first 10 or 11 stories have been written in chronological order, starting with the time when how I noticed Brent Spiner when he was portraying Data in Pen Pals, how he fell in love with me from reading my letters, and then we go through the 1990s, how I wrote Silver Skies to honor my love for Brent, and how eventually I found out about Laurie McBride in 1996 and just kind of cut him off as a romantic interest. And yeah, all of that's in the Gail series. The Gail series is a full recounting of the major episodes of my life, and I wrote it in chronological order up until 2001. Now, I cannot get into chronological order. After Baphomet and Shagpona raped my husband and almost killed him, putting him in critical condition, simply because my Gail shield went down to 0, because I had fallen for apparently Baphomet and Shakpona's suggestion to use Kroger delivery. That was apparently an order from hell. Yeah, made my Gail Shield go down to 0. But then I figured out how to cancel the order, and then it started creeping up, and I was able to save Brent Spiner's life. And then I had to jump into bed with my husband. The bed was soaked with blood, okay? I had to jump into bed. I jumped into bed with him on Zach Knight's suggestion just to make love to him. I figured, okay, if they're going to kill my husband, I want to die in his arms. That was my attitude. And it gave me enough clarity to make me realize that I would be able to cancel this order. Yeah, and it also helped Brent to have the strength to make it through that. Anyways, as a result of that experience, I've decided that there's just but a hair between me and death, or my husband. I mean, Satan's crew, which includes the Lizzo Jesuits, are so determined to take me out that I figured, okay, if by chance I really goof up again in the future, and they succeed in getting the Gail Shield to go low again, though I'm doing everything I can to try to prevent that, I want to make sure that I go out in style. So I am writing the Gail series every spare minute I get. Right now I wanted to write out of order because I wanted the world to know what Baphomet and Shakpona did to my husband, and that me and Brent are not on their side. Okay, that is my purpose right now for going back full steam on the Gail series. I want to make it clear to the world who I am, who my husband is, and who the men on my marriage list are. I also want to make it clear who Baphomet, Shakpona, and the Lizzo Jesuits, and people like my sister who is a Lizzo Jesuit are. And I want to create a dividing line to let people know that we do not support their value system. Okay? See, because what happened was when Shakpona and Baphomet raped my husband Brent, Baphomet was taking pictures of the rape. Yes. He got his camera, and with me in there, okay, making love, acting like me and Brent enjoyed being raped by these fiends from hell, who I consider the ugliest creatures in the whole multiverse. And he started, once I figured out how to cancel the order, Baphomet and Shakpona got out of my apartment, and Baphomet was passing around pictures of him and Shakpona making love to me and Brent while he was trying to kill and rape my husband and acting like we enjoyed it. And he was saying, oh, this was so much fun. We had such a cool sex part. I thought, okay, that does it. That does it. I'm going to make it plain that we were raped, that we did not enjoy this, and that we do not support the sexual or any values from these fiends from hell. That's why I'm writing the Gail series. Well, at that time, I had only written up to 2001, and I hadn't really described my dealings with Satan or Jesus or any of the gods. I have now written 19 stories. In fact, I'll have a link to a web page underneath this video at my website where you can see which ones I have done. I wrote The Gods Raped Brent Spiner. I wrote 2 about my sister, how she had me committed to a mental ward against my will based on a lying statement. How my men visited her in her Atlanta home, and how right afterwards she and Lori McBride became BFF. I've written that one. I wrote a story about the death of my stepdad, Bill Fuller, and how my men built a home for him in heaven, and how my sister was causing problems during that, and how Lizzo murdered my stepdad with a golf cart. I kind of held that off to the end because the story. Yeah, you can see them all at the Gabriel Chana Fox News channel. I'm taking a different approach now that I'm writing the stories out of order. Each story has a theme, like a spiritual lesson that needs to be learned from the event. Yeah. I would say the gods rape Brent Spiner. Basically, the theme is good versus evil, I would say. Yeah, with my sister, the theme was that those who believe life is unfair, and if they carry that to an extreme, can become tyrants. Because that's basically what my sister believes. That's basically what the Lizzo Jesuits and the Satan team believe. They think the whole multiverse is unfair. Yeah, and they're angry about it. And so I kind of explore all these themes. With my stepdad, I kind of explore that theme a little further. So I plainly established that my sister and I may have been raised by the same narcissist mother, but she was the golden child. I was the scapegoat, okay? And so we turned out differently. Yeah. And then I had, I've got some other, I wrote, I've written so many stories, I can't even remember the names of all of them. You know what? I ought to just go. I'll just go ahead and go to my website here, and I've been really going to town on the Gail series, and I have written like 10 stories in the past month, and I plan on. There's a total of 102 that I want to finish. Each of them, right now I'm doing them out of order. Okay, so here's what I've done. So Pen Pals is done. This was the start of my correspondence with Brent. I finished that July 9th, 2023. No One is Alone. Long Distance Pen Lovers, that's me and Brent. That finished July 9th, 2023. Oasis of Dreams, this is Gail, my long distance relationship with Brent up to the beginning of when Lori McBride raped him in 1992, finished July 9th, 2023. Jesuit Empire Strikes True Love, this covers the last half of 1992 from the Lori McBride rape to the funeral of a little girl where Jesus spoke to me using the song Somewhere from West Side Story. So that one was finished July 18th, 2023. So, okay, then the next one was Basement Concentration Camp, where about how Lori McBride stalked Brent to the time she locked Brent in a basement, and then my son went to the hospital, and how the Jesuits were messing with me and Brent back then. I finished this one. This covered from 1992 to July 1993. I finished that one August 5th, 2023. Next story, Northridge Earthquake. This starts when David Schuler learned that I was writing Brent. And it was really interesting how he found out, because I was trying to keep this from him. He found out because the Jesuits orchestrated all sorts of machinations. It's in that story. And how Jesus sent the Northridge earthquake to condemn as a statement of condemnation against the Jesuit order. And a lot of interesting things were happening. It's in that story. That ends with January 1994. That one was finished August 26, 2023. Then the next story is Gail and Brent's hometown, where I moved to Houston, Texas. Yeah, out of like 120 possible duty stations, I got stationed my husband got stationed here. I didn't tell him that this was Brent's hometown, but then he might have known he was a Jesuit at that time. I worked on Silver Skies a lot there. The story ends when I learned about Lori McBride in June 1996. That one was finished September 16, 2023. And then there's the Franco Nero story, where when I learned about Lori McBride, I completely lost all romantic attraction to Brent. But I did keep him as a friend, a long-distance friend, and Lori latched onto Franco, tried to rape Franco Nero in Christmas 1996, and I described that. After that, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina in 1997, and I suffered some fires from the Jesuits. They actually started the fires using transporter technology, though I thought it was a juvenile delinquent. It was a kind of complicated scenario. I go into that in this story. And I finished this one October 7, 2023. And I actually threatened to divorce my husband over the way he handled my son, because my husband was going to blame my son for the fires. My son was right beside me, helping me put them out. And I didn't realize it, but there was a clone of my son outside my mobile home, working with the transporter technology to make it look like he did the fires. Yeah, the Jesuits are really tricky. Okay, the next story is back in Seattle. This was an intense year in 1999. They intensified their attacks on me. My son was harassed by kids at school. Doctors and supplements were poisoning my food, and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. And this culminated in December 1999 when they tried to get me into general anesthesia, saying that I might have breast cancer, and because they wanted to do bad things to me in general anesthesia. And this is when I figured out that Lori was a Vatican agent. This was December 1999. Jesus spoke to me in a still small voice. And so I offered to marry Brent, and I said, I'm so sorry that I misjudged you. I then saw him as a superhero for enduring Jesuit agent Lori McBride. And that story was finished October 28, 2023. Next story, Gail divorces Jesuit agent. This starts off kind of like with the crash of Alaska Airlines jet in January 2000, which was because I asked Brent to make a public appearance on LA TV and expose Lori McBride. The next day, the day when he was supposed to do that, the Jesuits crashed Alaska Airlines head first out of the Pacific Ocean. January 2000, my story exposes them. I talk about the nasty divorce I went through because I was divorcing a Jesuit agent, okay? And what I had to go through and how I ended up unfairly losing custody. Basically, the Jesuits, I think, took over the court system in Washington State and managed to get me described as too mentally ill to have custody of my son. Based on what happened was, it's too complicated to explain, but this story covers it, okay? So that story I finished on November 13, 2023. The next story, September 11, 2001. This is how I endured living with my mother. I was infuriated by 9/11, knowing that the Jesuits did it to stop me from marrying Brent. And then right after 9/11, I noticed Vladimir Putin and decided I would marry him. I gave up on Brent marrying me because of 9/11. I falsely believed at that time that Lori McBride was dead. And my story goes into this, which is one of the reasons that I thought it was impossible for me to marry Brent. I thought these Jesuits are so powerful. Even after they killed Lori McBride, you got to understand, I did not have the internet in 2001. I was dirt poor. I'd just been divorced, living with my mother. She wasn't a big computer person, okay? And yeah. And then I ended up moving to Tallahassee, and actually my mother's clone moved me to Tallahassee. This story goes into that. And the interesting thing is that, yeah. Okay. That one was finished December 9, 2023. The next story was Vladimir Putin Part 1. Oh, no, excuse me. Okay, the next one was The Gods Rape Brent Spiner. I already talked about that one. I finished that one on January 18, 2024. Then I decided to finish one from an earlier part of my life, Vladimir Putin. Yeah, that Gods Rape Brent Spiner happened January 15th, 2024. Yeah, that's what I decided to start writing out of order. Vladimir Putin Part 1, this is when I lived in Tallahassee, but I needed food stamps. I ended up filing for bankruptcy because I thought I had too many health problems to hold down a job. The Jesuits have been obsessed with me since I was born, okay? I ended up moving back to live with my mother at the end of 2002, and I was very disappointed that I was not able to be with Brent or Vladimir. And that story I finished January 22nd, 2024. Okay, the next story, Gail visits her relatives. I went to my son's I'm starting now to write them out of order. I went to my son's graduation in May 2012. The Jesuits caused problems. They threatened my sister and her family if she wouldn't treat me like I was crazy. And then eventually, my sister, my men visited her to prove to her that I wasn't crazy, and then she became insanely jealous. And I kind of go into the dynamics behind her jealousy. I finished that one January 24th, 2024. The next one, Sandra commits Gail to mental ward. That one I finished January 29, 2024. Lizzo murders Gail's stepdad. I finished that one February the 1st, 2024. The next one, Satan at the Supreme Court. Yes, Satan, you're not going to believe Satan actually killed everybody on the planet. And Jesus had to resurrect everybody. This is what happened at this. This is a momentous event. Should have been covered on every mainstream news channel. But of course, with Satan in charge of the mainstream news, that isn't going to happen. That one I finished February the 5th, 2024. I figured Satan deserves to get his dirty butt exposed, okay? And how he tricked me. Yeah. Next one, Gail's men going their own way. This is when about 25,000 men on my marriage list decided they were mad at me because I didn't want to have sex with them. And I go into, in this story, I actually include some parts from the Hindu goddess Lakshmi, conversation I had with her in May 2022, because she explained to me about my asexual leanings and my polyamory, which I didn't know what those words meant, okay? This is a very good story to read if you're trying to find your sexual identity. Yeah. Because Lakshmi's transcript is very enlightening. That one I finished February 12, 2024. The next story was Tulsi Gabbard usurps President Gail. This one was how Brent had to save me and the country from Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, and what happened to her? It was wild. There was a period of 10 days in January 2021 when Lori McBride was using a dildo, the same dildo that she apparently used to rape Brent with, and she was trying to possess Brent Spiner as Jesus Christ, and was basically trying to do a brain-to-brain impersonation of Jesus, of a Brent Spiner possessed by Jesus. And they thought that they got me to orgasm with this, okay? This is kind of funny in a way. But to be honest with you, I'm the one who figured out that this Brent possessed by Jesus was a fake. And I figured it out January the 19th, okay? And I decided, I told Brent, I said, Brent, I don't want to make love to you as Brent possessed by Jesus. This is boring to me. I don't care. I want to make love to you as yourself. And this whole story goes into this. But the thing is, though, is that Lori McBride, when she attacked our entire space fleet, killed off millions. So the only ones who survived was the top 10 men, basically, and some Patreons. That was it. Everybody died. We lost all our space fleet. And then she wrote a nasty letter to Brent claiming that, oh, I had so much fun the past month. Stupid Gail thought she was making love to Jesus. Actually, I was never sure whether I was making love to Jesus. This story goes into it. And she was claiming, then Tulsi Gabbard wrote a letter that claimed that just watch Gabriel Chan of Fox News, okay? I did a really good job on this story. I finished, basically, they were lying about me. The problem is the lies are kind of believable, okay? So that's why it's so important for me to write these stories, because if I don't tell people exactly what happened, people are going to believe the lying news narrative out there. Yeah, because we all tend to project ourselves onto others, right? Okay? Yeah, anyways, I finished that one. And most people are not asexual leaning like I am. They're going to project their own full sexuality onto me. The average person in my shoes probably would have had an orgasm with this fake. But because I'm asexual leaning, I couldn't get into it. I have to have a strong spiritual and emotional connection with my lover. Yeah, I couldn't get into it. Just like I couldn't get into making love with Jesus either, for the same reason. You say, really? Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but it's true. Yeah, anyways, yeah. So yeah, these stories go into this. Us asexual leaning people are not like the most of you out there, okay? We're a little different. We don't get sexually attracted easily. I go into it anyways. I go into it in this story, okay? I finished that one on February the 14th, 2024. But this is why it's so important for me to write these stories. Because if I don't tell people the full story about me and what's happened to me, then the interpretation of the events of my life will be according to Satan and his Antichrist. And we can't let that happen because they're lying, okay? They're lying. All right. Now I'm working on the story, the Quebec trial. And what I've been doing with a lot of the stories is I'll talk about the events, okay? I'll talk about the events and what happened and the spiritual lessons that can be learned from that event, okay? Now, see, that's why I have to write these stories, because if I don't present my perspective and the spiritual lessons that I learned from the event, then what's going to happen is Satan is going to rewrite history. That's why it's so important for me to write the Gail series. He's going to rewrite history, and he's going to say, what really happened to Gail when she thought, when Tulsi Gabbard was unjustly, or he might just say she was never murdered, because we've got a good automaton of her out there. Not murdered, but, I hate to use, not murdered, but taken out. We had to take her out because she was going to usurp me. She used the 25th Amendment to be the president. She was sitting in the White House right when my men returned from the devastating Kumstar attack. Yeah, we already made videos about that, yeah. And, she was accusing me of being either mentally insane or too dumb to be the president, because I didn't recognize in that 10 days that brain-to-brain lover was a fake. Yeah. Anyways, the story goes into it. So, yeah, I mean, it was see, that's why I have to write this. I got to say this. And another thing that I am including in the stories is a lot of stuff that I was taught wrongly from evangelical Christianity that I had to unlearn, because Satan and Baphomet have been going to town with that stuff. Yeah, I'll bring it into the stories where it's applicable. Like, yeah, for a while there, I was reading War on the Saints. This was, yeah, trying not to be demon-possessed, because I thought it would help me in fighting off Baphomet and Shakpona and all them. And then Buddha had to show up and say, hey, Gail, that there is no such thing as demon possession. There is such a thing as demon obsession, and then Baphomet has a lot of fun. Yeah, so the stories go into this, okay? Yeah, now, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I'm hearing brain to brain that all of Christendom out there has decided that my Gail series is their new guidebook, kind of replacing the Bible. Simply because the Bible was canceled, as you know, in Easter 2022 by God the Father. I mean, if God the Father canceled it, it's canceled, you guys. Yeah. And so a lot of Christians have been confused about the way forward. And now that I've already done 1/5 of the Gail series, a lot of the Christians, and I believe this is Christians of all. Christianity is the largest religion on the planet, by the way. Are realizing that they have now a guidebook. So they're using the Gail series. You might say, is this the new Bible? Whether it is or not, I don't know. To be honest with you, I think right now, functionally, it is doing the same thing the Bible was supposed to do before it was canceled. It's giving Jesus followers guidance and showing them, how to live successful lives honoring Jesus, who is now, he's no longer a deity, he's pure existence. Yeah, basically in my Gail series, I am explaining the new approach to following Jesus right now, and how I've had to rethink a lot of concepts from evangelical Christianity that were actually off. And to be honest with you, the Bible was a little flawed. I'm starting to see that now. For instance, you might say, oh, that's sacrilegious. It was a little bit. Let me tell you why. Okay. You know the New Testament passages that talk about Jesus and the apostles casting out demons from people? Well, I asked Buddha about that. I said, why did they cast out the demons if there's no such thing as demon possession? Because Buddha said that is correct. There is no such thing as demon possession. And he said it's because if a belief is so strong in a person, the only way to solve the problem, what they had was not demon possession, it was demon obsession, which gives the demons all sorts of fun, is to go along with that belief and like give them a placebo. So when they cast out the demons out of these people who thought they were demon possessed, it was a placebo. And here's where I say the Bible was a little flawed. It was flawed because why in the world did the Bible not explain to future generations that the reason that the apostles and Jesus cast out the demons from these people was because they thought they were possessed, but they weren't? Because as a result of that flaw, future generations of Christians would read the Bible and wrongly conclude that the state of demon possession is valid. To the point where people like Jesse Penn Lewis and, what is it, that guy that wrote The War on the Saints? I believed it. All the Christian preachers believed it. We all believed it was possible to be demon possessed. That is a flaw. You say, oh, that's sacrilegious. Hey, when God the Father first canceled the Bible, I thought, oh my God, it was just mind-boggling. But now now that I kind of look back over it retrospectively, I can think, you know what? He had to. There were too many flaws in it. That was a problem. And then, of course, once Jesus started getting directly involved with us, that messed up all the timelines. That means none of the prophecies could be fulfilled. It had to be canceled. I do believe that, it's probably not a good idea to put future events in these divine books. You think so? Yeah, because people get obsessed about them. So it's possible that the Gail series will be the new Bible, but I don't think Jesus would want us to worship it like the Bible, like that we used to worship the Bible. Probably a better way to put it, just think of it as a guidebook. Yeah. But I am kind of explaining some of the things I had to unlearn in the stories that I've written so that people can learn from my mistakes, including mistakes in what I believed. And also I explained proper meditation, because it took me a while to figure this one out. Yeah. In the Gail series, I have some quotes from the god Buddha, from the goddess Lakshmi, and even from Jesus. And the stories are based around the lessons that I've learned to be able to pass them on to future generations. And also some of the flaws in the Bible that cause Christians to go into obsessions. Yeah, because see, if you wrongly believe that the state of demon possession exists, it makes you ripe for an obsession over demon possession. You see what I'm saying? That happened to me. That gives Baphomet a party, man. He is a demon, by the way. He's the goat demon. I call it a he. He prefers to be called they, them. But I noticed when Buddha described Baphomet, he called him a he, which makes me suspect that before Baphomet fell, he might have been male. He might have added his boobs and stuff on later when he became evil, He's behind the SJW movement, by the way, so don't even listen to them. So anyways, yeah. Yeah, so I do believe that a lot of Christians are now using the Gail Series as their new Bible, quote unquote, okay? I can see why, because the lessons that I've learned would be useful for people raised in Christianity like I've been, for them to know, to help them to to help them not to make the same mistakes that I've made. My goal in writing the Gail Series is to help people learn from my life, the mistakes I've made, the challenges we've gone through, and also to get the truth out there about the events that happened to me and my men, so that you will get the correct version of what happened and not the satanic Jesuit lying slant, which is what's going to happen if I don't write the Gail Series. And Jesus did state that that the Gail Series is designed to teach future generations the valuable lessons that I and my men have learned, and for them to gather the lessons, and learn from them. Yeah, so. And also to unlearn some of the flaws from the Bible. Another flaw that I think that was in the Bible was to have so much prophecy. You say, really? Yes. Because you know what happened to that? Because the Bible has so much prophecy, it caused Christians to argue among themselves. I am a premillennial dispensationalist. I am an amillennialist. Well, I'm more spiritual than you because I believe in the premillennial correct view. And you know what? I don't think Jesus liked that. And what's really ironic about the whole thing is that now that all the prophecies are canceled, it doesn't matter whether you were a pre-mill or a-mill or post-mill, or whether you took the Catholic interpretation or the Russian Orthodox interpretation or the Protestant interpretation or the King James Bible-only interpretation. You see what I'm saying? We waste our time with all these obsessions. We should just live in the moment. Joyfully, peacefully, thankfully. Keep our peace. We don't need to be more right than everybody else. Yeah. Yeah, so the Gail Series is going to kind of fix that. Yeah. I could tell Jesus didn't like this. I asked him about this. Once I asked him, I said, which group of Christians is the most correct theologically or doctrinally? His answer to me was, Christians have more in common than they have differences. That was his answer. Yeah. He didn't like all the bickering among the Christians. Like, I am a premill. My interpretation of the Bible is better than yours. Or you let gays in your pulpit. Oh, like, no. That's another thing. In the Gail Series, the only sexual activity that we condemn are those who practice it with hatred and that cause nasty divisions between people. Any sex practiced with love that is consensual is okay with me. And it is not condemned in any of my stories. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I had to make a YouTube video. You need to check out the Gail Series. This is turning out to be... It's funny, as I meditate and work on the stories, I get really deep spiritual insight into how to interpret the event so that people can get maximum learning from what happened, so that they can apply it to their lives and the spiritual lessons can be applied to them, which might explain why the brain to brain that I've heard might be correct, that a lot of Christians are deciding to make this the new Bible. I'm kind of reluctant to call it a Bible because I don't want people to worship this as a Bible. Yeah. Like I said, the Bible had flaws. It was only meant to be a guidebook. It was never meant to be worshipped as an idol, which, by the way, I'm going to be writing a whole story about how I worshiped the Bible as an idol, specifically the King James Bible, and how it got me in a whale of trouble. Okay? Yeah, so that's coming. So all the spiritual lessons that I've learned, they're all going to be in these Gail Series. And I'm going to make sure that the correct version of the events that happened gets out there, because I guarantee you, if I don't tell people what happened, 100 years from now, the only version people are going to know about is what Satan's interpretation is. And we don't want that. He's a big liar. You'll figure that out when you read, if you haven't already seen the Satan at the Supreme Court, which is finished, by the way. And Satan deserves to get his dirty butt exposed. In his current condition, he sucks. Anyways, I had to make my Gail video, my YouTube video, and yeah, then I'm also gonna try to practice good Zen today, get some other Gail commandments done, and if I have the time, work on my story on the Quebec trial.
In a world of secrets, where darkness reigns, there's a warrior rising, breaking free from chains. She's Gail Schuler, her heart's pure and strong. With the power of love, she'll right the world's wrongs. Yeah, fighting against the devil in order. She's the first, a passionate crusader. Stand by the side of conquer it all. Through space battles and trials.